back in 2009. I said the Marxists, the socialists, the communists, the anarchists, along with the Islamists, will work together to destabilize the Middle East, Europe, and America eventually, and destroy the Western world. That is exactly what is happening. I didn't know it at the time. Two things I didn't know. That would become known as the Red-Green Alliance, when you have Marxists on one hand and you have Islamists on the other. And I also didn't know that that is exactly the way they overthrew Iran back in 1979. They made an agreement. Marxist, you bring in all of the college students and you show how corrupt this is. We'll organize the mosques and we'll have a revolution. Eventually, it didn't work out well for the Marxists because they thought they were in board with good friends, and they weren't. As soon as the revolution took place and it stabilized and you had the Ayatollah, they went on a killing spree of the Marxists. They were either arrested, tortured, or killed in the next couple of years.
If you let them to be in the power, you are done. You need to run. Absolutely fine. Oh, I just want to tell the truth about Iran. None of them have never been in Iran. I'm Persian. My mom, all my family, 99% of my family, they are still living in Iran. I've been here since I came here 7 years ago. And I know how the murderer regime killed all the people in Iran. And those useless idiots, they don't want to listen to us, to Persian people. You know why? Because they hate Israel. They know Khamenei hate Israel. That's why they love Khamenei. They don't care how Khamenei, less than 3 months ago, killed more than 50,000 people in 2 days. And I can see those people, they are holding the Khamenei picture in their hand, and they are not even Iranian.
Do you think Islamic extremism is on the streets of London?
Listen, they are controlling London. That's why we just try to help people in London. What you're seeing here now, we saw it 50 years ago. Now, we ask our grandfather, our parents, why you didn't say anything? And now I can see, because they've been drinking in the pub. They say, oh, diversity, oh, we need to respect, oh, we cannot divide. But in a minute, they get to the power, they force you to cover your hair.
Do you see London being under Sharia law?
Of course, it is. Of course, it is. It is by the Sadiq Khan, by Ayatollah Keir Starmer.
And you've lived under Islamic extremism, so you understand.
From London, I'm not living in London anymore because I wasn't safe. 2 days ago, they burned the car in North London because they hang the Persian flag. A few days back, they burned 4 ambulances in Golders Green because they've been for Jews.
If nothing is to change today, yesterday, if nothing's going to change in the way that the Europeans act towards this threat, we are heading towards a very, very dark, very nihilistic future. Like, you don't understand. I can tell you from personal experience, I am literally the descendant of an indigenous group of people from Iraq, right? The Jews of Iraq, who were brought there from slavery and stayed there for thousands of years under Mesopotamian rule. And Arabs came in, they removed our culture, they removed our language, they forced us to pay a jizya. They treated us as second-class citizens called dhimmis. They'll tell you, we lived in peace and you held positions of government. Go read how many massacres they did while we lived in peace. Go read how they restricted our culture and restricted our prayer and force converted us in our time of peace. They always say, we lived in peace. It's better than what the Christians did. Just go read a little bit about it. I promise you. And then we ended up getting deported from our own land, getting kicked out after enduring a massacre. The third, by the way, the third Farhud. People talk about the Farhud that happened in 1941. It was the third of its kind in about 250 years, documented. Only the documented ones, by the way. And then we end up deporting. They end up deporting us out of our own homes, kicking us out of our own house. That's the kind of future you're heading to. That's what you're heading to. They'll come into your country, Islamists, They'll take over, they'll hold positions of government, they'll change the culture, the language. Take a look at how many halal trucks are around, how many mosques are around. Take a look, notice the pattern change. It's happening in New York City as well. And then, before you know it, you're dead or kicked out of your own home. That's what happened to us. It's not a fairy tale. I'm living proof of it.
2001, after 9/11, there were 84 mosques in New York City. Today, there are more than 400.
Any Muslim house, they will never tamper with. But any house that belongs to Christian, these are the houses that they normally destroy.
They attack mostly Christian, where Christian dominated areas. Dominated area of Christian. That is why you see they burn our churches. But there is no any mosque that burned down.
2026. At least 43 people have been killed in northeastern DR Congo by militants linked to Islamic State, IS. 44 houses were set on fire in the village of Bafwakoa. Some victims were killed with machetes, while others were burned to death in their homes. 2 people have been abducted. Militants linked to the Islamic State have killed thousands of civilians and been behind looting and killings in DR Congo, says a local official. At the beginning of the year, 3 different villages were attacked by militants in DR Congo, and 14 people were killed.
They've used our own charitable nature they've used it against us. We don't want to be enemies. We don't want to be bigoted or anything else. And they've used it against us. There is a reason this is all happening, and it is well documented by them.
Islam in Sweden 2026. On Saturday, March 21st, a man in his 20s was shot and killed in Örebro in central Sweden. On Monday, March 23rd, a teenager was seriously injured by gunfire in Huddinge, a suburb of the Swedish capital, Stockholm. He later died from his injuries. The following day, a man was injured in a shooting in Solna, which is also a suburb of Stockholm. On Wednesday, March 25th, a 15-year-old boy was killed in Malmö, the same day as the shooting incident by the bus in Tyreso. The shooting occurred on Wednesday around 3 p.m. About 20 people were on board the bus.
The attack by radical Islamists on the Hindu families in the village of Aladinagar was no isolated event. In early 2013, a wave of violence swept across the entire country. The main targets were religious minorities and freethinkers.
Judges want a blasphemy law requiring the death penalty for people who insult Islam online.
They don't agree with us. They treat Christians with a pretty heavy hand in their countries. What's happened is there's an alliance between the left and Islam. The left is closing us down. It won't allow us to give us free speech. Yeah. It's giving Islam a free pass. And then when they've beaten up the Christians, they'll turn on each other.
Yes. First of all, I don't really care if you think it's a conspiracy theory or not. It's a conspiracy fact. I have the documents to prove it. So tell me where it's wrong. I have the documents in their own words proving what they're doing. They are telling us every step of the way what they're doing. And then they send messengers out like CARE to tell us, oh, no, you're bigoted for saying that. Yeah. Words don't bother me anymore.
What do we do to stop it, Glenn?
What do we do to stop it? We must inform ourselves and stand strong.
Because in Iran, they got in and then killed all the left who helped them get in. Is that right?
Yes,
could that happen
the communists
here?
and the trade unionists who inadvertently helped the Khomeinists to power, they were massacred in the prisons of Tehran and elsewhere in the 80s.
But if your religious practice says it's going to be new laws and a completely different country, that's not a religious practice. That is a political practice. And no, the answer is no.
Exposing the Islamist blueprint for conquering the West. He is Glenn Beck. Glenn, hope to have you back soon. Thanks so much for making this work. We appreciate it.
let us be clear who is actually defending our sovereignty. Today, Israel is fighter for peaceful nations, freeing Gaza from Hamas and saving Iranians from the Islamic Republic. What Israel is doing to the IRGC is a gift to humanity. There are 57 Islamic countries and only one Jewish state, Israel. Despite the ongoing hateful desire to eliminate it, Israel has not only survived, it has thrived. I don't believe in miracles, but this is one. So I ask the UN, when will you end the ritual of condemning Israel? Is it not time, instead, to learn from Israel how to defeat terror, defend free societies, and pursue peace?